How's it going, YouTube? Got FourthStarTCG here, and today we're going to talk about a question that I get a lot, whether it's on my YouTube channel, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on the forum, and it is, what Pokemon cards should I professionally grade? So a big part of my channel, a big part of my collection is professionally graded cards. I do the vast majority of my grading through PSA, and I'm always getting questions about, is this card worth it to grade? What card should I grade? So today I just wanted to go over the why people professionally grade and to give you a little bit of a basic breakdown as to what cards you should grade for what purpose. So there are multiple reasons why people will grade cards. Now, the main reason that people think of to grade their cards is to increase the value of their cards. So, for example, I got some PSA 9 Rockets EX cards here. So, if you're buying this card in ungraded, near mint to mint condition for this Moltres, you're maybe getting about, I think, $85 to $100. I think that would be a solid price. Times change, especially in this market. It's a little difficult putting solid prices on, but I'd say an average would be $85 to $100. However, if you spend $10 on sending this card off to PSA and it scores a 9, in this market you're probably looking at about $175 to $200. So you can almost double the value of your card, even if it gets a 9, just by sending it off to PSA and having it professionally graded and achieving a high grade. Now, you can also have things like, this Rockets Articuno. I think this is probably a little bit more expensive. Ungraded card, you're probably looking at 100 to 125. PSA 9, maybe 200 to 250. So again, on these cards, even if you're scoring 9s, you are making significant monetary gains. So that is one reason why people will grade their cards, is just to gain money. But within that, it's important to note that not every card that you grade will be worth that increase in value. Stuff like these old EX cards, whoops, knock these cards over here. Stuff like these old EX cards from 2004, they're popular, they're, Rockets, EX cards. Team Rocket Returns was a very popular set, was not printed a lot. So there aren't a lot of these out there, and there are a lot of people who want them out there. So getting them professionally graded is going to be an important driver of the value of the card. But even if you score PSA 10s, it's not, some cards just won't go up in value that much. Just for example, I have some PSA 10 full art cards from the modern era. This is from 2015, a Mega Sceptile EX. I think I probably paid $25 for this card. And similar for this Mega Latios EX, another $25. So even if your cards are gem mint, just condition isn't enough to send them off to PSA. You can't look at a card and say, oh, it's in mint condition, it might score a 9 or a 10, it's worth it to grade. That's not necessarily what you are looking for when you're looking for monetary gains, right? So because the value of cards, the value of graded cards shifts, not every graded card is worth the exact same when it's graded. Like, for example, grading a Rockets EX card, a 9 will probably double it in value from the ungraded near mint to mint purchase price. Grading something like this in a 10, you're probably just going to break even given the grading costs and the purchase price of the card. So it's not a catch-all, grade if they're mint thing. So my friend Enlightened Bulbasaur, he posted a pretty good post on E4, and he talked about tiers of cards, right? So you have different tiers of cards where, you've got your tier 4 where it's, grade only if it has a shot at a PSA 10. You've got a tier 3, and I might be messing up his post a little bit, but you get the gist of it. You've got a tier 3 card where you want to grade if it's a PSA 9 or higher. You've got a tier 2 card where it's grade if it's in near mint condition or better, so like a PSA 7 plus. And then you've got a tier 1, which is basically grade in any condition. And for monetary gains, those are going to be the cards that you would look at. So for example, these cards, they're probably a tier 4 or below. You really don't want to grade them unless you're really certain that they have a great shot at a PSA 10, because they're not going to be making you much money at all. These EX cards, right now, I'd say they're probably a tier 2, where you can probably make some money even if they're graded 8. But most of them are probably, most EX cards in general are probably tier 3 right now, where you want to grade them if they're 9 or higher. Now, some examples for the higher set of cards. For example, for grade if near mint condition or better, I would pop things like Gold Star cards in there, Japanese and English. If they're in near mint condition or better, they're probably going to go up in value if you professionally grade them. And for tier 1, grade in any condition, that's your stuff like, you know, first edition base set Charizard, where there's an established price point for each grade. Even like a PSA 1 has an established price point for a first edition base set Charizard. That's also going to be things like popular trophy cards, where the most important thing isn't necessarily the grade, but the authentication and the protection. So the most important thing on these, you know, tiers of cards is doing the research yourself and finding out what the graded card value is. You know, what's the value of a 10? What's the value of the 9? What's the value of an 8? What condition your card is in, and what grade you expect to get, and then doing that calculation as to, you know, is it worth it to grade? And this is something that you're going to have to do on your own. And these are skills that take quite a while to develop, whether it's, you know, accurately assessing the condition of your cards. You know, I got a nice big stack of cards here that will probably go off to PSA at some point, and, you know, I have a fairly good idea of what these cards are going to get. This Jirachi is probably going to get a 9, this Tropical Wind a 9, hopefully this Naganadel GX a 10, this for Alligator a 10, this Mega Pidgeot a 10, this Zapdos probably an 8 or a 9, and I've sort of made the decision that these cards are worth it to PSA grade at that price point. There are some other cards that I've made the decision that they aren't worth it to PSA grade, even if they grab 10s, and I'm holding off for them. Some examples, these ultra shiny cards, I purchased them. I really love the artwork here, but right now, even though they're all in mint condition, and I think they'd score 10s, it's not really worth it to grade, especially if some of them get 9s. And, you know, I just won't be able to sell them. It's not worth it for me right now. Might be worth it at some time in the future, so I'm holding on to them. So that's grading for monetary gain. And that's what most people talk about when they say, you know, why should I grade this card? But there's a whole nother level of professional grading that I think people don't look at, and it's professional grading for protection and for nostalgic value for personal attachment. So for example, I have some cards here. I have my first edition Rayquaza Gold Star. It's a PSA 3. I really don't think that grading bumped the value of this card in any way, shape, or form. But I really love this card. Rayquaza Gold Star, it's one of my favorite card artworks, and first edition in Japanese is very, very rare. And the front of this card, if I didn't show you the grade, and you just saw this, you'd probably think that is a, you know, PSA 7 or higher. Just because of the front looks so nice. The holo is beautiful. There's like very little scratching on the holo, which surprises me because actually the back is pretty beat up, as you can see here. It's creased, it's discolored, but the front is super nice. So I had this card hanging around for a while, and I decided that, you know, it's time to get it professionally graded because I wanted it protected. I wanted to be able to see the card in a really nice, professionally encased way. And, you know, I just wanted it professionally graded for my collection. So that's one, you know, people sort of overlook this. They only think, okay, is it worth it to grade financially? And sometimes, you know, just looking through that lens cannot be helpful. Another card that I graded, not necessarily for value, is this Empoleon Level X. I actually pulled this card myself way back when on the channel, and it was just amazing to pull, and I really wanted it graded and encased and protected. As you know, I pulled this card myself. I have a significant attachment to it, and I didn't want it just sitting in a binder. I wanted it protected. I wanted to be able to show it off, as the graded case just does such a good job of showing off this card. So grading for, you know, personal attachment is a much different calculation than grading for monetary gain, because what you're doing is you're valuing the card differently, right? So when you're grading, you know, for your own collection, or you're grading for protection and preservation, it's much less about these values and value judgments that you have to make. So definitely, you know, when you have a card, take a conscious decision. Am I grading this for personal value, or am I grading this for monetary gain? Do the research, look into the card, figure out where it falls on that, you know, tiering scale. Is it a card that, you know, goes up in value when it's graded in near mint condition or better? Is it a card that goes up in value if it's only a 9, or if it goes up in value only if it's a 10? Or maybe like these cards, you know, it really doesn't go up in value that much even if it is a 10. So then it wouldn't be worth it to grade at all. So hope that made some sense for you guys. I hope you enjoyed. So thank you all for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and stick around for more videos.